25 watts a channel. Is that enough or what? Dolby Atmos. I don't know.
Hey, Kpaceguy.
What, man? What is it now?
Why are you so frustrated? What are you doing?
I mean, I'm just trying to go through the receivers. There's just so much in front of me. I mean, there's 2019, 2018, 2020, Dolby Atmos, 7.2, 9.2. I just don't even know what all this means. How do I even know what to pick?
Well, Kpaceguy, there's a way to figure out what you need. Just ask me. I can tell you.
And what do you know about receivers?
Well, there's a method to picking a receiver. There's things you can look at. What kind of movies and music do you like to watch or listen to? How many speakers do you want in your room? How much power do you need? There's a lot of ways to figure out what receiver is best. Maybe we should talk about it.
I'm just so confused. I mean, they have 13.2 channels, 11, 9, Dolby Atmos, Aural DD, Odyssey. I just don't understand what I'm looking at. Like, how do I even know what's even good? And then $3,900, $2,400, $2,100. I'm just not sure what to pick. I'm just so confused.
Okay, we'll just make a video on how to know what receiver is right for you. Let's talk about it.
Now mid-2020 is here and you're starting to see a whole bunch of new receivers come out, 2020 receivers, 8K, HDMI 2.1, DTS-X Pro. You're probably wondering, hey, maybe it's time for me to upgrade my current receiver. Or maybe with the whole pandemic and your local movie theater being closed, maybe you want to start your own home theater. And you're looking to see what receivers you should get. But how do you know what's the right one for you? Well, there's a little bit of ways to go about finding a receiver so that you pick the right one the first time. So we're going to talk about just a few ways that I personally go about finding a receiver that may help you guys as well. And so for me, when I'm looking for a receiver, let's say that I already have speakers here in my home theater now. So I want to try to find a receiver that's going to complement my speakers as best as they can. So for me personally, my speakers are very musical, but I also like to watch home theater, watch movies, all that good stuff too. So I want a receiver that's going to be able to be pretty versatile, that's going to be good for music and good for movies as well. I don't want one that's good at one thing and not the other, because I like to do both and not just one. So I want to find a receiver that's going to be very good when it comes to the music reproduction, but it's going to give me that impact when I want to watch a movie. Find a receiver that's going to be catered to what you're looking to get out of it, what your speakers are capable of. So if you have a very power hungry speaker, maybe you need a receiver that's going to give you the most power possible. Maybe you have a lot of speakers in your home theater. You may want a receiver that has a lot of channels. So you're going to want to use your speakers as a way to help you decide what receiver to get. But let's say you don't have any speakers at all and you're starting new. Well, what are you looking to get out of your home theater? Are you going to be watching movies more than music? Are you going to be listening to music more than movies? Make that decision first and then go out and look for receivers that do what you're looking for. So like I said, for myself, I like to watch movies a lot, but I also like to turn on for music. So I want a receiver that's known for being musical and that's pretty good at doing movies as well, not just one. You're gonna want something that has a warmer sound if you're going for a home theater, because you want the action, the bang and the boom. Get a warmer sounding, really active receiver. If you want music more than movies or music completely, you may want to get a receiver that's pretty neutral, doesn't have a lot of color to it, so that it doesn't taint the musical sound that you're looking for. Maybe you have speakers that are super power hungry. You may want to get a receiver that's going to give you a lot of juice, or maybe you want a preprocessor. So use that as your starting point to know what kind of receiver am I looking for anyway. Now, we mentioned having the number of speakers that you have dictating the receiver you should get. Now, if you want just a basic 5-channel system, then maybe you don't need a very expensive receiver. Maybe you go for one of the lower tiers from maybe a Yamaha or a Marantz or a Pioneer. Maybe you need a lot of channels because you have a lot of speakers. Maybe you're looking to run Dolby Atmos, DTS-X, 7 speakers on the floor, 4, 7.2.4, whatever it is. How many channels do you want out of your receiver? And then that will help you find a receiver too, because receivers have different capabilities. Some of the lower priced ones have maybe 5 channels or 7 channels. Maybe you want a really good EQ, a really good calibration system like Odyssey XT32. Maybe that's important to you, so maybe you need to get a higher tier receiver. Maybe you want something that's just for 2-channel stereo. So maybe you don't need to get a receiver, a home theater receiver. Maybe you just need to get a stereo receiver. Maybe you're looking to get something powerful. So maybe you need a preprocessor that's not going to have its own amps. You're looking to get extra external amplification and power your speakers that way. Like myself, I have a Marantz 6700h preprocessor that just processes my signals, sends video, sends audio, but doesn't reproduce any of it. I have a Monolith 7, and that's my power amplifier that powers my speakers itself. So I don't have an AV receiver because I need a lot of juice and I won't use the amperage inside the receiver anyway. So maybe you're somebody who wants to get an AV processor and not an AV receiver. So take a look at how many speakers you have and what they're capable of, and that'll also help you find out what receiver is best for you. Now, with today's day and age, it really doesn't matter what level of receiver you're going to buy. You're probably going to get most of the same features as far as Bluetooth connectivity, Wi-Fi, AirPlay, Spotify, TuneIn, whatever it is. Usually that comes standard in receivers nowadays. So the more money you spend doesn't necessarily mean the more features you're going to have. It really just means how many channels you're going to have and how many watts per channel you're going to get. So depending on how much money you spend, you may not be getting a necessarily better receiver, although a lot of times you'll pay for the better version of their calibration. For example, Marantz and Denon, they have Odyssey. The higher the tier of your receiver, the better the EQ, the calibration system that they have is. So that might be important to you, but you don't get more features necessarily. You may get more HDMI outputs and inputs. You may get extra zones if you want to play music at different parts of the home at the same time. Or maybe you really need that extra 4K slot, extra HDMIs, maybe you need a bigger, powerful amp, whatever the case is. So you don't necessarily get more features, you get more channels or more power in your system, or maybe an extra out or HDMI in, whatever the case is. So if features aren't that important to you, then maybe you should look for a lower, lesser tier receiver. Stick with a 5.1, 7.1 and be happy with that. If you want the Dolby Atmos and you want the DTS-X Pro, you may have to step up to a higher tier to get the more channels. Maybe your speakers are power hungry. Maybe you need to run them at 6 ohms instead of 8 ohms. You may have to get a higher tier just to get some more power out of them, or go and get a lower tier receiver and get a power amplifier to pair with it. Different matches and makes that you can do with these receivers that'll get you what you want to. So it's very important to look and see in the specs, how much power is that receiver going to give me? How many channels can that receiver process at one time before I need extra amplification? And so on and so forth. So depending on how much you want to spend may decide how much power, how many HDMIs, and how many channels you're going to get. But feature-wise, it's usually all the same. Now, after you've gone through and you decide, okay, I want this many channels, I need this kind of power, I want these kind of features, once you've limited that to a certain group, now you need to do your research. Go out there and see what other people think of this brand. Now, reviews are very iffy. It's very hard to tell what's genuine and what's not. For example, you may have somebody that says, Marantz is terrible. I turned it on and it wouldn't power up, and then I had to reboot it and this, that, and the other, and it wasn't working, so I sent it back. You may have reviews that are user errors. You know, we've all seen that review where you're like, maybe that was your fault and not Marantz. You know what I'm saying? So you want to do your reviews and look at the more popular reviews, the general responses that people give. If it has 4.5 stars out of 5 out of 2,000 people, then it's probably a good receiver. Go in and read reviews on the receivers that you picked and see, is this Denon a good one, or should I go to the Yamaha? Is Marantz good for music, or should I go for the Pioneer? Other people will tell you their honest opinions. And then again, it is opinion. It's opinionated. So if you ever get the chance to go out and listen to your electronics, always do so. Times like this, you may not be able to. So you're gonna have to rely on YouTube videos and reviews and forums. But when you read them, be careful. Not everybody knows what they're talking about. But if you start to see a common theme, like, okay, this is good, I like this, that. If you see a lot of people saying good things about that certain receiver, then most likely it's probably a good receiver. So do your research, read. I read up on everything I want to get before I buy it. And then when I buy it, I still read up on it before it even gets here. 1, because I'm so excited, and 2, because I want to make sure that I purchased a good purchase and I can cancel it before it gets here. So do all the research you can before you find something. Limit it down to maybe a few handfuls of receivers, and then you can kind of fine tune it by scratching some off your list depending on the reviews that you saw for them. So reviews will really help you. Comment sections, YouTube, all that stuff can really help you limit it down to maybe 1 or 2 home theater systems, and then you can finally make your decision that way. Now, this last little tip is going to be a hard one to do nowadays, but it's going to be finding something that it's going to be able to be future-proof. Now, we know technology is constantly moving. We just now started getting the 2020 8K receivers, but I guarantee you tomorrow they're going to say people are making 10K receivers and da-da-da-da. Everything's always changing, right? And that's okay. But you want to try to future-proof yourself as much as you can, or at least put yourself in a place that you're going to be happy for years and years to come, so you don't have to upgrade. What do I mean by that? Well, things, like I said, are always changing. So you want to find something that's probably going to be around for a while, like 8K or DTS-X Pro. Get something that's going to be around for a while so you don't have to jump on the bandwagon as soon as something new comes up. People don't think about this a lot. You don't want to go and get an old receiver or get something that's not going to last for you a long time, because you're going to be right back in the same position looking for something new. And home theater, the hobby, can get very expensive very quickly, especially if you're buying without any research. You want to go in and make sure you know exactly what you're looking for, read your reviews, ask around, and get what you really want. Because if you don't, you're going to be in a constant loop of buying, selling, rebuying, repurchasing, starting all over. It's going to get very costly. So you want to make sure you get something that's going to be future-proof as much as you can, so that you can keep it for a while, enjoy it for a while, and then say 5, 6, 7 years from now, make an upgrade. So for me, I don't upgrade very often, my AVR at least, maybe 3 or 4 years, and I'll get something else if I think that I need it. So find something out there that's going to be, you know, a little bit future-proofed, so that you can keep it for a while, enjoy it for a while, and don't have to worry about it, and keep some money in your pocket. So, little tip for you. Alright guys, so that's gonna do it for how to decide what receiver is right for you. With all of these new receivers coming out, I'm sure a lot of you guys are thinking of upgrading. So when you're out there looking at these new receivers, new Marantz, new Denons, I'm sure other people will come out with some. Make sure that they have what you want, or maybe don't buy something that you won't use. Maybe you don't need 13 channels of processing, maybe you don't need 7. You know, so don't go buy the latest and greatest thing if you're not even gonna use those features. Stick with what you have if you're happy with it. If you feel like you need something else, then see what they can offer you and get that thing there. So guys, that's it for this video. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what receiver or preprocessor you have in your home theater right now, and how long have you had it. Let me know that right now in the comment section down below. Click that like button and subscribe if you're not already. We will see you in the next video. Kpaceguy out. Peace.